Hello everyone, we meet again. This is our second session of the Design Dive Bootcamp. In this, we help you learn all about UI UX and designing. So today's event is going to be on graphics design, and your today's mentor is Tithi Bose, the GDSC lead of BBIT and an amazing designer. I would like to call Tithi on stage and take over this meet.
Hi there, thanks for the lovely introduction. I'll be starting the presentation. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. So before you start designing with Figma, you need to have a Figma account. For that, let's just go to figma.com. If you search in the web for Figma, this will come up, and there is a desktop app as well. You can choose to do your designs from the desktop app or from the website itself. It's compatible for both. But if you choose to do it from the website, then it will somehow save your memory space. And the desktop app certainly sometimes requires you to sign in via the website mode. So it's up to you whichever you want to choose. And if you go up to this page, you need to sign up if you don't have an account, or if you have an account, then you have to sign in with it to get to this page. I have an account already on this email, so I have this page ready. But in case you want to do, you will be first redirected to a page where you have to input your details like a basic password and your email. Then you will be getting an email for the verification. Once you do that, you'll be directed straight to a page where you have to create a project, and then you can start building some pages inside of it. Note that the number of projects for designing in a free, completely free Figma location is number of 3. You can't build more than 3, and if you want to, you have to pay, obviously. You cannot use video in Figma for free, you have to pay some money for it. So it's a lot that they offer in the free section, and we are going to dive deep into that today. Let's go to the Figma section. This is a file which I have created, and it is a draft. Before we start, so as you can see, if you go and register in the website, you'll be landing on this page. You can choose to start a design file, which is primarily used for our basic purposes, or if you want to make algorithms or plan out things, make notes and stuff, you can go to the FigJam board. You can also import projects if you have them in other accounts as well. So Figma on an overall provides you basics of what you're supposed to do and how you can make the most out of the software in these two files you can see here. You can choose to edit them or just go inside and explore what's there. But in this part, this is the menu part, there's a community as well called Friends of Figma, which is for the people who use Figma a lot or just want to leverage their career in kind of designing like UI UX or graphics, whichever way you want. And it's there for almost every city in the world. and there's one for Kolkata as well. And I don't know how much active it is, but it's that. So as you can see, this is my team, and this is one of my team projects. And I cannot create more than this one because you can see the free label is there. If I want to create more, I have to view a plan or just shell out some cash. There's a section for favorite files as well, and you can favorite your files in case you need to use them more often than the others. In this case, you can just search your files here or add people. So today I'm going to create a new design file, and while I do so, you can see it automatically opens the drafts one because I've not selected the project. And in case I select the project, then I would have the opportunity to add more people, but it's just for an information purpose. So I'm creating a drafts, and you cannot add more people to here who can actually edit, I think. Yeah, you can edit, but I don't think there's much more functionality to it because draft files are not supposed to be in production or just like used as a regular file. It's a draft for a reason. You can change the name of your project right here. For example, let's say you're using this one. So it's a draft and it's in the SKEPSIS name, and the basic thing you want to do is to create something. To create something, you can either create a frame or you can create a group. Now, the basic difference between a frame and group is that the frames make it easier to do UI UX prototyping in case you want to leverage your graphics to be used in some form of the UI UX. If you just want it to be a very basic poster, you can go with the group option as well. So let's go and create a frame. As you can see, once I click on the frame option, I get the phone, tablet, desktop presentation, watch paper, social media, these kind of things. And if you are creating posts for graphic designing, you might have seen that some of the posts are landscapes, some of them have a different dimension and stuff. So if you're making a Twitter post, you can just get it in this resolution, and the sizes vary with each platform and type. So let's create a square post, which is the Instagram post. And let me tell you that the Instagram post, this 100 into 100 is the 1:1 ratio. It's a square format, and it is one of the most preferred ways of creating a poster because it's widely acceptable across all the platforms. You can upload a square to everywhere, unlike these formats which require some modifications, and in case you upload them, parts of the posters may get cut off while uploading, so this won't cause a problem. So let's create an Instagram post. As you can see here, the fill is something which is there in the background. You can either use a hex code to get a popular fill or just what you want. This is the hex code for white, and if you go by this is the color of the background. It just completely mixes. But for absolute pitch black, you can either slide it here. See, the hex code changes. This is the absolute pitch black. Or you can just tap in the hex code. And not just hex code, you can also use RGB, CSS, HSB formats as well. You can also use to pick a color in case you don't have time to just pick the colors up individually from the hex codes or from the palette given here. The other options available for coloring are these gradients. These gradients create a visually appealing effect on the posters. For example, this is the top section, and I'm giving this a gradient of black is already there. With this slider, you can increase or decrease the opacity of the color. So this is black at 50% opacity. This looks blackish on the black background, but once you export this or put it on somewhere else where the background is not black, it might look a bit more off. That is it. So I'm keeping this to 100%, and for this one, I'm going with this color. And when I cross this, you see we have got this lovely gradient over here, which is a mixture of black and wine red. Any questions up till this part?
If anyone has any questions, you can unmute or write it in the chat box.
No questions.
Okay, cool. You can use this linear gradient to create even more detailed or complicated designs, as you can slide this up and down. And once you slide this up and down, you can see that at a particular point, these two merge. And the point at which these two merge is where it creates a complete gradient over here. You can see the borders very clearly, and here is how you create another gradient over here. For example, we are taking this of a very lighter color. Now see what happens. I'm just putting it in. See the magic? It creates a straight line, a very clear cut border, and you just move it right above it. The whole color changes. So yeah, with Figma you can play around with it a bit. You can create very interesting designs once you get the hang of this. And this has been used in UI UX as well. So if you can manage to keep this up to the point, you can get some really good details. For example, let's keep this black to the bottom and pull this down here so that we have a red black alternating gradient. Now we move on to the rounded corners. As you can see, this is a square with very sharp edges. You can just simply round your corners like this. If I tap 90, it will go on a 90-degree turn. It's very smooth, and you can adjust it as much as you want. Like if you go even like 300 degrees, it will be more like an ellipse. See? This is also a type which is used to design for UI UX in case you want to convert that from just a poster to a part of a website. Now let's put this to 0 again, and let's do just this. This is called the constraint proportion. What generally happens when you just elongate this or that, it just isn't equal on both the sides. So while doing this, we just do this, and then we just increase, and it goes in proportion. Even if you don't want this to be unaffected or just to be whatever it is, you can just always change the size up and down manually by this. And if you do it by this way, I'm sure that it will save you a lot of heckle, because sometimes Figma does work some really good job and screw up the measurements. Anyway, we are going 500 on this one and 500 on the height as well. The size has changed. Well, This part is basically like rotating. See, you can do a full rotation, or in case you don't want to, you can always type this here. Let's go back to 0. The other options which are available for this is just go a right click. You can copy, paste to replace. And group selection is something which is usually done when there are a lot of elements to be considered. Frame selection, this one is just a single frame, it is already selected. Ungroup is used for group selections. You can also use it as a mask. A mask is a type of vector, or set it as thumbnail, which is not required primarily in graphic design. You can also use plugins, and some of the plugins include Iconify, which provides access to some icons which are used a lot in graphic designing. For example, the calendar icon, or the location pin, or just the logos in case. See, there are a lot of plugins in here, and let me search for Iconify. Once you go here, you can see that it has a 11K like count and 2.2 million people use it. So it's quite popular and reliable as well. If you run
Tithi,
this, huh?
there is a question in the chat box. So it
Okay,
says, can you describe the mask, please?
okay, cool. Let me just explain this and then I'm going to the mask, okay? So if you go to this part, you can see that there are a lot of icons which are available by the people who donated them, like Lucia Bogio or Ben Sperry. Or you can just search calendar here. You can get a lot of icons in here. This was the page 2, and there are a lot more. Feel free to check them out if you want after the session, because there are a lot. And in case you import any one of them, you can change the colors if you want. I'm not changing the color, and I'm importing the icon. So see, it gets imported as a frame. Now what would happen if I import it as an component? There it is. This is a vector. This is not. This is a frame and this is a vector. Now if you go to this part, you can add some variants, which is a property which is used primarily in UI UX design but not in graphic design. So for the mask part, I have to select something like this vector. If you use this as a mask, this says that this bite-sized calendar is the parent of this vector. Basically, it just converts it to a vector. Now, vector is a powerful tool that can help you leverage your game. Vectors are created or imported using various methods. Like you can just search for vectors online, you can import them by copy and paste, and you can use them. The usage of vectors is unparalleled in graphic design because most of the cases it's not just possible to create a new vector for every poster you want. You have to create something in case it's very much required, but most of the cases vectors are just predefined and available for you to use. Let's say for example we are searching for
Basically, my question is why the mux is used, but or in which purpose the mux is used.
The mask is used to create a vector. That is it.
Okay, okay.
Like this is a vector. You can just import it. Let's import this one, right? And there are a lot of websites which actually showcase a lot of vectors. You can just lift them up from here, and some of them are quite popularly used. You can recognize them if you're long enough into it. Let's copy this one. We are just, this is a vector illustration, and let's just paste it here. You can use Ctrl V to paste this stuff. And if this had a white background, then I'm pretty sure you would be able to tell if it was created or just copied and pasted. Well, anyway, there are a lot of Figma shortcuts that you can use while doing a graphic design, and the most used part is zooming in and zooming out. What I primarily use is Ctrl plus to zoom in and Ctrl minus to zoom out. Now, the more times of Ctrl plus you do, the more you can zoom in, and same goes for the zoom out option as well. There is an entire cheat sheet of Figma shortcuts available on the internet. If you can go and see them, it would be beneficial for you. And for this part, this image I have imported, these lines show the constraints of the image. Like this is at this position, this is at this position. Basically shows where the image is. Now, for these radius marked small circles, you see that you can pull them in for rounded corner. Notice that the value here changes while you move this. You can round them or you can just flatten them out if you want. There are constraints for this as well. You can do a right one. This changes it to the right, left and right, center scale. This is not generally required in graphic designing because we do things a lot based on our intuition as well, and graphic designing requires a lot of elements in just one poster. So oftentimes the lines just merge or lay on top of each other, and it's difficult to know what is which is line and what. Now for the layer part, this layer is a pass-through layer which states that this goes right past on the background layer. Now, in case you go to normal, it's just a normal mode, it's just on top of it. You go darken, multiply, plus darker, color burn. Just basically gives a lot of aesthetic effects. Lighten, screen, plus lighter, color dodge. This one just burns it. Overlay, soft light, hard light, difference, exclusion, hue, saturation, and luminosity is just grayscale, color. Now, according to all of these options, you have to find the one that suitably fits your poster, and you have to do that by trial and error because what you think looks good in normal might actually look good to another person in lighter mode. So, yeah, there's a lot of things you need to consider before doing graphic design. So, this is how you get pictures. And another way to get pictures is by using the place image of video. But unfortunately, you cannot place videos without purchasing the premium edition. And placing image, this option will open up a prompt where you have to select the directory from your system and what file you need to import, and then you just click on the open option and it just opens it. Next, we have all these kinds of shapes which you can put. For example, let's make a star. This is a star, and you can just fill it up with whatever color you want. For example, I fill this up with this cherry. There is a stroke option as well. Can you see the black outline here? This is called a stroke. So the stroke outline has black with 100% opacity. On the inside, it can be outside or centered as well. See how it changes. And for this, it's 1. But in case I just increase it to 50 and do it on the outside, and now, whoa. This is a completely different version of what you would have initially thought it to be. You can change this according to your wish and it will change. It's great for making borders pop out of an element and sometimes making stickers. You can go here and in case you do this round or bevel, this is a meta and the angle is just this one because there's an angle between the legs of the star as well. This is solid, you can do dash or even custom if you want. This is mainly used for stickers and stuff. The next thing we have is line. You can draw lines using this. You can rotate this one, you can change everything with this. Another thing you can see here is a pen. What a pen actually does is very similar to what the Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator version does. You just create vectors using this at freehand. Let's create a pentagon. Done. Now before clicking done, let's do some stuff. Like I'm using the bend tool. With this bend tool, I'm just moving it. You can just use whatever you want to bend it to, whatever angle you might deem fitting. And if you want, you can just change everything on the course here. It's funny and stressful at times during difficult expressions. When you're done, you just click done and congratulations, you have a custom shape. This already looks like Patrick and I want to change the stroke to red, then add some color. There's also a pencil option where you can just scribble anything. And notice that even if your lines are very bendy or you have shaky hands, it will just smoothen it out to get more or less uniform surface. And notice that it is given a wide value of 100% opacity and you can hold shift to draw straight lines. This is 3 is the value of the strength and this is none, this is square, this is round. Just basically the end of the brush, if you can see, it's rounded. I'm zooming it in so you can see it's rounded. If you give none, then it's just a rectangle. And if you this, it's more or less the same. But round brushes are what we have used and been familiar with, so this is how it works. Let's go back to the pen part and control minus for zoom out. Let's create something. We create this line. Use the pen tool to bend it. And now this is the fill color. or the paint bucket. You can fill it with whatever color you want. This is the white color, this is the red, this is for the line as well. You can just remove this like that. Why isn't this working? Anyway, we'll get back to this. And there's a way to select all of the vectors. You can either just go to this part, this is the cursor. You can draw this and see these three vectors are highlighted in the leftwise pane, and this is the selected part under your mouse. If you let it go, you have got the selected part. Now, all of these vectors are something which essentially make up a bigger illustration just in case, and I'm not sure why this didn't work, or maybe there's some holes in it. I think so. Yeah, it has come finally. You can color your shapes like this, and this does look like Patrick from SpongeBob, just a very outline edition. Okay, now let's get back to designing a poster. We don't use the calendar for this demo. We are getting this one Instagram post. The fill, let's pick it up as white. Why is my mouse stuck? Anyway, you can use a picture as well and video. Nope. So let's go back to white and import some text. Now you can use plugins from here, widgets from here, or components from here as well. This is just a hand tool to move around. This is a text tool. You can select your font here. There's a lot of fonts already available for you. You don't have to select or just download anything from the web. Almost everything is there. This is the line spacing, and this is the auto width. I would suggest you keep it to this one, fixed size, because it avoids overflow. This one is the alignment option, and this is just the text align. Let's write something. So as you can see, this is of size 12, and this particular font does not allow it to be regular, bold, italic, semi bold, or any sort of modifications. So we are keeping it to regular. We select this, we increase the size. What is good? How does this happen? This happens because I checked this one. If I check this one, then still no issues. If it's auto width, then you see there is very little gap between the L and the S. You can use these ones also, but it's left aligned. You can make this center aligned as well. Generally with small text pieces, it doesn't really matter, but in case you have to write a lot, and the infographics is heavy on that part. These do matter. It's just three words, so these three won't make much of a difference. This is how you play with it. And there's no paragraph, so keeping this won't do anything. And there's just one line, so won't do much of it either, but we can try. Like, if I do this, this one has fixed one, so this is fixed, it doesn't change. It won't change this. See, the words won't change, but the alignment of this one does change when you click them. Let's make this one, and this width changes with this, and let's keep it this way. Now you can change the color of the text as well. You can also do a gradient on the text with this tool. It's a very useful tool which can help you leverage your designs. But in case you have brand guidelines and stuff, you don't do much of the edits. It's already there, and the rules just hold you from doing something. So this is an outside, it can be inside. This looks better than the outside one. This is the center. The center is the weighted average of inside and outside, as you can see. And for the effects, you have something. This is usually done when you have text on the front or something which you want to pop up, but the color scheme of the background and what you want to pop out is exactly the same. You want to drop some shadow. See, the shadows are increasing. There's also a layer blur available, inner shadow available, and background blur available. Generally, we use background blur, and layer blur is something which I don't really use, but you can use it for a funky effect. So let's use this. Also, the other things which you can include in this are logos, which you have to import using this option, and the things which you can use in this one for this particular poster, which is learn with skepsis, is just an image is there. I don't have the logo yet, so the text is there, and maybe some call out like register or just start learning. And for that you need buttons, so let's go to this part. Iconify for the win. Now there are a lot of things which are available for you to explore between. There are GitLab SVGs, Peppercorns Pop, Element Plus, Basil, Fluent. Google metric icons are something which is really used, especially in Google events. SVG logos, let's example this. Oh, this is just a Google Calendar logo. Anyway, if you search, you can also paste SVGs on here to import them. Now, SVG has an added advantage over just PNG or JPG, is just because they don't get compressed while getting imported or exported. They have the highest quality, but they also take up some more space than the others. And if you search for it, if you search a button, you can get these buttons or these buttons. Let's go to the 15 part, and this is kind of out of context, but okay. Why is there so many Japanese symbols here? The closer you are to page 1, 2, and 3, the more accurate information you can get. So let's take this one. Let's take.
There is a question in the
Hmm,
chat box. You may just check.
okay. Iconify from which package? You just search Iconify. It's a plugin, not a package. If I import this, I'm going to this one. I've got mine, and this has some components as well, which is the vector, as you can see, and this is just a container which holds the vector. If you take this vector out, the component stays here while the vector is here. So in case you delete this one using the delete button, it's still going to be here, but in case you delete this and not the wrapper one, the full component is going to be missing. Let's just increase the size of this. Let's 50. You do this, and I'm just going to remove the layer blur for now. Increase the font. This looks pretty okayish for a poster, but generally you have a lot more to do while designing a poster. You have to keep in mind of the principles that were discussed yesterday. Anyway, this one's pretty done, but still looks a bit bland to me because there's not much elements in it and the ratios are not perfectly there. So let's fix it. As you can see, if I move these ones, the red lines are the ones which show the margins and with what the alignment is where and how. See, with this point, the icon on the bottommost part is just centrally aligned with the text part, and the rightmost line of the text part is kind of aligned with the graphics endpoints. So, okay, I will just round off the corners for a bit.
I have a question.
Hmm,
Using the Iconify, can we get Instagram, Twitter, YouTube icons from there? Like if
absolutely.
you want to attach, if you want to
Yeah,
attach,
absolutely.
uh, and how we can add text which is clickable. You know that on clicking on that, it will pop up in open a new website. Is it possible?
No, it's not possible because in case you want to attach something with a link, then you have to make it a PDF first. That is it. posters don't actually have this still. But I haven't made anything which has clickable stuff in it because the versions I worked on, it wasn't possible. So we had to do either a QR or just an external link with the poster, which people had to open and go through it.
Could you show us an example of adding Instagram, YouTube, or related to Skepsis account here in the
Like the
poster?
icons.
Yeah, icons.
There you go.
Yeah, that was pretty much helpful. Yeah, thanks.
Welcome. Anyone, any questions? And for another part, for more complex designs, you have the option of locking this with a particular frame. Like the height is 240 and width is 253 here, and the x coordinates y19 and x32. So at these points of this, it is locked. You cannot move this. It's given a lock sign over here. It's locked. You can move this part, but you cannot change the relative position of this. Also, this is a frame, so you can change the frame size, but you cannot change this one. You can change this, but you cannot just select this. That is the thing. Now it's very unbalanced at this point. So let me go and fix it. Now for the grouping part, for example, you have to group this with this. So you do this group selection. There you have it inside. So this whole group one represents these two components. With groups, you can simplify your designing process in case you have too many repetitive elements, or you can just group them for the sake of reuse later on in a different poster. Now, this layout looks really cool and might help when you have too many components. We just have three components here. This is a frame and this is a group. If you have to import something into the group, you have to just take them and force them inside. But in the frame, you don't have to do that. Take the star or just move it here, or just take the star, move it here. It's just directly inside this. You can do the same for the group part. This is the difference. As in graphic designing, nothing more is different here. You can also create your own infographics using a lot of different complex things which you don't generally require unless it's very explicitly mentioned that you need to do something of higher order. But this is enough to learn and get started with a basic poster. I think you have to design a basic poster at the end of the course. So let's just do that. For this one, I'm using the group method and not the Instagram post. So won't make much of a difference. I'm creating this, keeping this as 500 and 500 for the height as well, so that it's uniform and looks cool. This one, see, this is a group one, so even when you move it, it just doesn't go inside of it. This is the difference between group and friend. No worries, even if it's invisible, you can bring it to the front using bring to front, and you can just send it nowhere using the send to back option. If you bring it to the front, then it's right above this layer and visible. This is the difference between group and front, basically. Okay, so this is it. Hmm, let's create a text, a very funky text. The size is 96 anyway. Which one should I choose from this family? Just tell me in the chat box or okay. Let's go with Krish. Let's put in a sample text like you use Ctrl plus D to create a duplicate. They might be automatically placed depending on the way you placed the previous one. You can change the shapes if you want to, because I'm doing this. So sorry for the silent moments. And this is how we have created a very small representation of what we have learned today. I don't know why I can't color in between the shots I've given the fill. Anyway, might be a mouse issue because it's getting stuck at some points. Notably, you can also use some other tools inside this, like let me show an example. You can also use radial or angular or diamond for your reference. You can also vary this and see once you click outside and just cross this, you get a very interesting perspective of what's going to happen. And here you can add your own colors into the mix as well. So it looks very interesting. It's a plethora of colors at this point. Another thing which you might not have seen till right now because I haven't told them yet. And this looked very cool when executed properly, and you need a lot of practice on Figma to get to the highest level if possible. See, this is automatically adjusted with the edges of your reference material, that is the rectangle. You can decrease or increase the size as you want. You can also rotate this. This looks very cool in it. Anyway, if we keep this at this and just put a different color, this would look really cool. You can add more colors into the mix as well. Now, how does that look? Pretty amazing. This is the radial one, just the diamond one, but with a circle. See, here I've got a 3D sphere effect in this one. If you apply the proper colors and stuff, you can also get 3D effects in it, but it's limited to the number of shapes that you can use. Any questions? Anyone? Because we're almost done. For the sample you have to create for the end of the workshops, you can create this one or you can just import more pictures or just copy paste them. It's up to you. Follow the design principles. This is a very asymmetric design with a lot of negative space. Anyway, and you can use whatever techniques you want and make sure to submit that correctly within the given timeline for certificates, I believe. And that is it for today. This is Patrick, a very spooky Patrick. Anyway,
Yeah, I have a question.
yeah, sure, tell.
Suppose if someone is showing me his or her design in Figma. Now,
Hmm.
suppose you are showing a design, and how will I get to
Hmm.
know about the aspect ratio or what is a? current size of the picture or the poster? How will I get the info from the app? Is there any way?
This is the size.
Yeah. Wow.
500 into 500 pixels.
That is 1:1. You can get it.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, one more question I have.
Yeah,
While I
sure.
was creating design in Figma for my
Hmm.
web app, for web design purpose, now
Hmm.
uh, I want to center my this the page, the poster. How will I do it? Is there any shortcut or anything? It's
You want to center a poster in the web page.
no, the I have opened a Figma, right? I am designing and I have
Hmm.
moved. I'm working and I have shifted it, the poster left side and right side. I'm working. Now I want to
Okay.
just make the white poster, which is the working area, to the center of my desktop. Like I have.
Yeah, go on.
Did, did you get my question or?
You want to center your poster at the middle of your desktop, right?
Yeah, yeah.
For that, you have the sliders. See? These are the sliders. You can move them.
Is there not any shortcuts?
This is the shortcut. Or you can just do Control minus and Control plus to move around. Generally, we do it by our own, and this is the most shortcut that you can use. This
Is there
is
any
right.
command
There's no command. You just need
command
the
palette?
command palette is different, and for this we just use Control plus or Control minus for Windows and Command plus or Command minus for Mac users.
The shortcuts varies from Mac users and the PC
Yeah,
users.
yeah. Like the control is substituted by command and so on. The
Yeah.
keys change with Windows and Mac devices. Any other
Uh,
questions?
yeah, I was looking interested in your. Have you done any your workouts and that you have projects that you have built, that designs? I want to see if there are any samples like that.
Yeah, there are samples, and should I share the link? I have to search because I don't actually update much on my links or what I create because a lot of them are actually in the brand guidelines. I just import them and paste them. There's nothing much to do while you volunteer for organization and stuff because a lot of times they are just telling you that you cannot use more than these elements in a particular poster, or you cannot use any other font than a particular font, you cannot use any other font size for a particular font, and a lot of restrictions are there. And in general, while working on these restrictions, it might seem that the work is very hard, but it's quite easy because the more it gets on the creative field, the harder it is to perform. If you are given with the task like there is no limit to what you can create, it becomes harder to make something than a place where you're just given like these are the assets and make something out of it. Because what you can think and create is completely different from the person who expects a poster from you. The mindset or
Hmm.
the vision can be completely different.
Yeah. Thank you. I got it.
Welcome.
Okay, so
And
does
hmm,
anyone have any questions?
any questions?
I guess not.
Okay.
So, thank you, Aditi Di, for this informative session about Figma and how to design. Make sure everyone to fill up the feedback form. We will again meet tomorrow at 7:30 for the third and final session of Design Dive Bootcamp.
No, you don't have to make the exact same poster that I created. It's up to you
Oh,
what you can put in.
yeah,
You can create memes as well. No
yeah.
worries.
It depends upon your creativity, right?
You can make a meme of me as well. I won't mind. I love memes.
So, any other questions or anything?
I know this might seem very boring, but learning something within 1 hour is pretty tense and boring, especially on the day of Makar Sankranti. So, kudos to everyone who turned up and is still here at this point. Like, I really appreciate the endeavors you're putting in for learning a craft, and I hope you can submit something. At least it doesn't have to be a very professional looking poster, because this is just a boot camp. You're supposed to learn, and we don't expect you to be a professional or just a graphic designer, for the record. Just create something which can appeal to people's minds and they can find it relatable. That is well and fine. That's more than good than the other things that you can ever think of.
Yeah, just keep learning. This is all for your learning only. Um,
In
okay.
case anyone just wants to, so is your DP one of your artwork? No, it's directly provided by Google. And also, one of the disadvantages of Figma is that when you just work with vectors, and sometimes you require a very complicated stuff to build, like if you're making a cityscape of Kolkata using Figma, it's going to be very hard to replicate on Figma than on Adobe Illustrator. So you have to use some other software to create vector graphics in case there's a chance of high customization. Can we make videos or only posters on Figma? You can make videos, but you have to subscribe to Figma Professional. GIFs are possible, yeah, but I would not suggest to make GIFs because the quality would degrade and they would try any way to get some cash out of you, because GIF is a type of video, right? And in case anyone just wants to look at my portfolio, like I don't have a dedicated portfolio yet, but you can just visit my LinkedIn profile and you get to know about it. Link. Okay,
Hmm.
I'm sharing the Twitter and LinkedIn links as well. Just feel free to stalk.
Make sure to check out her LinkedIn and Instagram, everybody.
It's Twitter. I don't use Instagram.
Okay, then check out her Twitter.
I don't have a portfolio yet because what I make is not flattering to me as well.
So yeah, I guess we are done here. We will meet again tomorrow at 7:30 for the third and final session of the Design Dive Bootcamp, which will be on prototyping. Till then, keep on designing, everyone. Good night and thanks for coming.
Happy Makar Sankranti, everyone.
Happy Makar Sankranti.